What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to go with data exfiltration, but this time we're going to talk about using the HTTP protocol. So in previous videos we talked about data exfiltration using TCP sockets and SSH. Today we're going to talk about the data exfiltration with the HTTP protocol, which is one of the best options because it is challenging to detect. It's tough actually to distinguish between legitimate and malicious HTTP traffic. That's why data exfiltration through HTTP protocol is the most efficient, and it's actually the sneakiest method. So today we're going to talk about the advantages and the various methods to achieve this. The first way is using the HTTP post requests. So what happens is that we have the attacker machine here, we have the victim machine here. So at A for attacker, V for victim. So after the attacker establishes access to the compromised machine, alright, the victim machine, now the attacker will set up some sort of server to exfiltrate data. So the data will be exfiltrated this way, from the victim to the attacker. Here, this way we have access, and this way we have exfiltration. How it works: at the attacker machine we set up a server, and here from the victim machine we send post requests to our server in order to save the data that we want to exfiltrate. That's how it works. So the first thing we need, guys, is the web server on the attacker side. We need data handler. Why? Because post requests require data handler so that the data will be posted. And the last thing we need is the compromised machine. We need access to the compromised machine. So this is again post-compromised stage. It is actions on objective on the cyber kill chain. Now the next method will be using the HTTPS protocols. You still need to go through all of the previous conditions used in the HTTP post request, but you need to add this one. You need self-signed SSL certificate and installed to your web server. The last method is HTTP tunneling. This one is a bit tricky, guys, but if you know how to do it, it will be one of the stealthiest methods to perform data exfiltration. So basically what we do here, guys, the data is encrypted, okay, much like the HTTPS data exfiltration. But what happens here is that we create some sort of tunnel between an agent and server. So we need tunneling server and we need tunneling agent. Normally the tunneling server is installed on the attacker machine, okay, your machine, and the agent is uploaded to the web server or to the compromised machine. We need to create a tunneling agent to communicate with the tunneling server. After the tunnel is established, we can start that exfiltration. Some of the tools that you can use to perform HTTP tunneling is called Neo-reGeorg. Neo-reGeorg. We will explore this tool in a bit. So now let's switch to the practical side and understand or turn all the theory into practice. So let's first connect to the jump box, SSH, THM, and we grapple the IP address. Yes. Password is TryHackMe. And now we are connected to the jump box. Now from the jump box, let's connect to the machine. It is called WebTHM, where we will examine how post requests look like or are stored in the access logs of the Apache web server. So SSH THM at web.thm. Yes, TryHackMe. Okay, let's take a look at the logs. So we can go to cd var log apache 2. Okay, I take this sudo cat access.log. Alright, So this is an example of how post requests are saved in the access logs of the Apache web server. And here we'll demonstrate why post requests are prioritized and preferred over GET requests when you perform data exfiltration. The first thing, post requests are never cached, okay, and there is no restriction on the data length. As you can see, this is the post request, this is the data handler, okay. Now if you notice, guys, take a look at the GET request. So get example, and this is the handler flag, this is the base 64 value, okay. Now when the post request was performed, as you can see, the parameter doesn't appear here, is not saved to the access log, which is very useful if you want to evade detection while performing data exfiltration. So obviously, guys, the first line here, get request with the file parameter with exfiltrated data, we know that. Now let's try to decode this one, base 64. Decoding this value will get you the first flag. So this is the first flag. Let's leave it here, guys, and continue with the task. So let's get back now to how we exfiltrate data using the HTTP protocol. First, let's talk about post request, how to make them, and how to exfiltrate data using post request. The first thing, we need to set the attacker machine and the victim machine. In our case, the attacker machine is the WebTHM. It is equipped with a web server. If you go to var www.html, you will see the web server files, index, test, example, and contact. Now our data handler here is the contact. This is the page that will be handling the post requests. If you take a look at the code, as you can see, it uses the file as the parameter, and it stores the data under temp http.base64. Okay, so this is the file that will be handling the post requests coming from the victim machine. So the web server now is working on the attacker machine. The data handler is ready. Let's now go to the victim machine. So we connect again to the jump box. Okay, and from here, let's connect now to the victim machine. So sh thm at victim1.thm.com. Okay, so now we are at the victim machine. Let's take a look now at the data that we need to exfiltrate. So ls-la, the data exists under task 6. So what we need to do, guys, here, we need to first create an archive of task 6, convert it to base 64, and the resultant value will be sent as a post request. So basically, the contents of the directory task 6 will be sent as post request to our server. So how to do that? We need to use curl. Curl can be used to create post requests or to make post requests. -- data. And then here, as you know, the parameter that we need to use is the file parameter. So basically here, file equal, and between two parentheses, we put in here the value of the contents that we need to exfiltrate. So the contents will be the base 64 of the archive task 6. So first we create the archive tar zcf-task 6, and then pipe to base 64. This is it. So now we supplied the contents that we need to exfiltrate here to the file parameter. So we are finished with the contents, or with the data that we need to send, -- data. And then we need to communicate or define the web server that we want to send the data to. So basically it's HTTP web.thm.com, and specifically we want to send this to contacts.php, which happens to be the data handler. Enter. Okay, now let's take a look at the attacker machine web.thm. Go to temp. This is where the data is supposed to be saved. cd temp. Okay, so we have hey HTTP base64 cat. Okay, as you can see here, guys, we received the data, but if you look closely at the contents of this file, you can see that it's broken base64. So this happens due to URL encoding over the hey HTTP. So what we can do here, we can replace the spaces, okay, fix them, replace them with plus sign. Okay, to do that we can use the sed command. So S, we will replace now the spaces with plus sign, and the objects, oh my god, single quote suddenly doesn't work on my machine, so I have to take it from here. And one here. Then we supply the file. So it is fixed now. As you can see, the plus sign has been added. Okay, so the rest now is to decode the base64 value into plain text. We can do that using cat/temp/http, and then we send that to base64-d. Okay, after we decode that, it's supposed to be an archive file, so we want to extract the contents of this file. tar xvzf. So we have task 6 creds cd temp cd task 6 cat creds. So these are the credentials. All right, now let's now jump to what is called as the HTTP tunneling. So we talked about, guys, the data exfiltration using HTTP post requests. Now let's talk about HTTP tunneling. So we mentioned, guys, that we need first the tunneling server and the tunneling agent. So the tunneling server was installed by default on the attacker machine and TryHackMe. So let's open that. Okay, so we go to opt, and if you look closely here, this is the tool cd Neo-reGeorg. Okay, and from here we can create, guys, the encrypted client that we want to send to the victim machine, and that encrypted client will contact or will communicate with the tunneling server that we will create. So Python 3 and then generate -k, and here we define the key, guys. The key, it's up to you. Okay, so this command here generates an encrypted tunneling clients with a key that we will define here. Okay, so let's say the key will be thm. As you can see, guys, there are various extensions available: PHP, ASPX, and other extensions. In our scenario, since the server or the victim machine we're communicating with is PHP or is based on PHP, the web server, we're gonna need to use the PHP extension here, tunnel.php. So we will need to upload this tunneling agent or client to the compromised machine. In this case, it happens to be a web server and installed on the compromised machine. We will upload this to the compromised machine, and then we will be able to communicate with the tunneling agent or the tunneling server that we will create. To navigate to that machine, let's open the browser. Okay, so let's now browse. So opt, and we look at the tunnel. So the key here to proceed is admin. Type admin and upload. So the tunnel file has been uploaded, guys. Now the next thing, we need to communicate with the tunneling server. Okay, the tunneling server exists on our attacker machine. It happens to be now the attacker machine here. So we go to, let's see, what is that? Okay, so this is the attacker machine. Let's now create the tunneling server. So Python 3 -k-thm -u. So here we're going to put the path to the tunneling client that we have uploaded. So the path to the tunneling agent is HTTP, and then the IP address of the machine 70.106 uploader files tunnel. This is how we communicate with the tunneling agent, guys. We have an issue here. So let's see here. Starting SOX 5 server at this address. Okay, and this is the tunnel. So once it's connected, guys, you can see it's connected. We are ready now to use the tunnel connection between the client and the agent. We can exfiltrate data. You can even use that tunnel to access resources on the internal network that are not accessed by the outside internet, right? And that's what we'll do here. So right now we're ready to use the tunnel connection as a proxy binds on our local machine on this port. Okay, much like proxy chains, you can take it you can Okay, so now how to start the exfiltration, or how to access internal resources on the network that wouldn't be accessed otherwise if we haven't created the tunnel. So from a new tab here, okay, view, zoom in. Okay, so now let's say we have a web server, okay, on the inside network that we cannot access without the tunnel. So once we establish the tunnel here, guys, we can access any internal network resource using the SOX 5 server here. So let's say curl -- SOX 5, okay, and then we put the local machine IP address. It happens to be the tunnel 127.0.0.1. The port is 1080, and then we put in the address of the resource that we want to access. This resource, guys, is a web server that cannot be accessed from the internet. It is internal, local. The only way to access it is to be inside the network, and HTTP tunneling is one of the methods. So this server is listening on port 80. Empty reply from the server. Let's make sure the address is correct. Yeah, so here it is not 212, it is 121. Again, we get empty reply. Alright, so let's change that to 120. And here it says flag get your flag. So if we go to flag, and this is the flag. This is the first flag, and let's see the other flag. And this is the other flag. So this is it, guys. I hope you liked the video, and I'm gonna see you later.